about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Judge Judy.
All rise. Department 1 of the Superior Court is now in session. Judge Dinkleberry presiding. Please be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Calling the case of Garcia versus Wakefield. Are both sides ready?
Yes.
On January 14th, 2009, an automobile accident occurred at the intersection of Tabb and Dallas Street in Houston, Texas, between a compact car driven by Mr. Garcia and a tractor-trailer driven by Ms. Wakefield. At this intersection, the truck driver had a flashing yellow light, while the car driver had a flashing red light. Neither driver claims responsibility for the accident. Representative Wakefield, please rise.
Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Ms. Wakefield has been charged with not slowing down at the flashing yellow light prior to the automobile collision and therefore causing the crash with Mr. Garcia. However, my client claims to have been braking before the collision. The evidence I present will prove that Mr. Garcia is guilty as charged, and as he did not stop at the flashing red light, therefore my client is not guilty.
We have heard your claims. You may be seated. Representative for Garcia, please rise.
Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Garcia has been charged with running a flashing red light and causing an automobile collision with Ms. Wakefield's vehicle. However, my client claims to have made a full stop at the light prior to entering the intersection. The evidence I will present to you will prove to you that Wakefield is guilty as charged, as she did not slow down prior to the collision.
We have heard your claims. You may be seated. Representative for Wakefield, please rise and attempt to disprove Representative Garcia's accusations.
Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have some equations here to prove that Garcia is guilty. So, by dividing the frictional force by the normal force of the tire, which is 100 newtons and 130 newtons, we get 0.769 for the frictional force between Garcia's car and the road. Using the kinematic equation, we can find the speed of Garcia's car just after the collision, which is 11.12 meters per second. Moving on to finding the speed of Garcia's car right before the collision, we can use the conservation of momentum, which we can see here. For Garcia, it is a speed of 12.78 meters per second. Therefore, I rest my case.
We have heard your calculation of evidence. You may be seated. Representative for Garcia, please rise and attempt to disprove Representative Wakefield's accusations.
Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have some equations here to prove Wakefield as guilty. Wakefield's representative found that Garcia's car friction force was a mere 0.769 for the coefficient of kinetic friction. However, by talking to the manufacturers of the truck, we found that Wakefield's truck is about 70% that of car tires. So, Wakefield's coefficient of friction is 0.538. Using this, we can use this equation to find the acceleration of the truck during the skid, which is negative 5.277 meters per second squared for the acceleration. Plugging this into this kinematic equation, we find the velocity of the truck after the collision, which is a very, very rapid 10.777 meters per second for the velocity. To find the speed of Wakefield's truck right before the collision, we can use the conservation of momentum theory, like Wakefield's representative did, which we can see here for Wakefield is 12.51 meters per second for the truck right before the collision. Therefore, I rest my case.
Mrs. Garcia, you may be seated. I have heard both cases. However, we have the distance between the traffic light and the scene of the crash. By also knowing Garcia's acceleration, we can calculate Garcia's false velocity if he actually had stopped at the light. This leads us to figure out that Garcia did not, in fact, stop, as so he claimed. He did, since his velocity that Wakefield's representative calculated was much higher than 8.83 meters per second. Therefore, I find Garcia guilty of this accident and will be charged to life in prison. Guards, take him away now.
Come on, come on, come on. Let's go, come on. Let's go, come on. Hop, 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 hop. Move, 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 move.